Okay, welcome to the Spy Family Breakdown, and with that said, let's not waste any time. This is the completed timeline in all its glory of being completely unorganized. A lot of the time, I'll use DaVinci to automatically flatten it, which this looks much better. First, I want to talk about the creation of this, and then I'll go down on actually breaking down some of the edits, because there's not a lot really going on here. In the Bento Discord that I'm a part of, there is a telephone video channel, which the whole idea is that somebody makes an edit and you make something related to that edit. Usually you use the same source or you use the same song, but a different source. And that's pretty much the concept. So Violet Skies made a Spy Family edit and I really liked it. And then my off day happened, so I made this one. It was supposed to be a rather short edit. I didn't really expect this song to fit very well. And then as I kept going, I was like, ooh, I actually really like this. So we ended up getting this. I did a perfectly linear cut from beginning to end. I pretty much only used the first episode and a little bit of the second episode, so there's not really much storytelling or anything going on here. I'm pretty much just editing the show together. Some of the best videos are the ones that are able to weave a new story in or tell the story of the original like really efficiently, and with the music kind of building on it. I kind of just cut together scenes that looked good and it worked out. So as far as the very beginning of this, immediately I open on a masking shot, which is beyond simple. It took me a while to get it tweaked correctly, but all I did was go through and draw the lines. I made sure to get rid of that little corner. There's this little bit of white on the left side that kind of peeks in, but you don't see it, so I didn't touch it up. Like with the glitch effect going on, by the time you were gonna notice that, there's too much movement going on here. It's not gonna matter. So we open with that, goes into another shot, nothing being tweaked here. And this is probably the most complicated shot I did. And it's not even that complicated, it's just a bunch of masking shots. So you have, you have the trash can cut out because I wanted when he threw the thing in for it to glitch. So the moment it hits the fire, a little bit into the fire, it glitches. Mostly kind of just tried to do it on beat. It's on the, but we have the trash can, we've got Lloyd, we've got the city underneath him, which is not actually cut out. Very cool. So it stops being cut out about there, and I never noticed because my effect didn't really matter for that. So yeah, the trash can cut out and it glitches right around when it makes a little, just that right there. And then I had it glitch out again, and then it transfers from that glitch to outside glitch. I probably should have had them match up a little bit better so that it just goes from, yeah, so it should have been like 1 frame difference, but you know, this is the issue with releasing a video after you've only touched it for like 6 hours. And the way I made this glitch effect was, again, very simple. All I did was come over to video transitions, went to blocky glitch, and then I applied it on there. And you'll see without my tweaking, it does like a quick whatever. With the tweaking, I changed the quality offset, the resolution down, and I raised up the frequency. So the effect we get, instead of it being giant blocks, it does a bunch of smaller ones, and it almost makes it look like it loses quality in a way, kind of like the world around him is glitching or becoming distorted, which was the idea. From here, it's pretty standard. It's just matching to beat, doing a little bit of internal sync. Anya was kind of a pain in the ass. Or actually, let's not ignore this. So next up you have text, which it looks all right. There's nothing too special about it. I made it be behind him so that when he stands up, it starts to appear. And this is achieved through cutting out him and the old man. I didn't even touch it up that much because it didn't need to be that good. It just needed to be good enough. And as you can see, Magic Mask starts to eat Lloyd's hat because I stopped tweaking it. But again, didn't matter because I didn't make it that far. I made it stop right at the edge of that hat. So this is just 2 cutouts. One of just Lloyd, one of Lloyd and the guy, because the moment Lloyd's gone, I don't need to like worry about him anymore. So I just cut them into 2 separate shots. And then under that is the actual wall. And this is how I did it. Super simple, beyond simple. I put 3D text, I put a render node, and I put a merge node. So you have the original scene here on the left side. You have the text on the right side merged together. They look like that. All I did for the text is I took the color of the wall, one of the colors of the wall. I think I went with the darkest one. And then I reduced the size. I changed some of the transformation to rotate it so that it was actually lined up with that right there, so that as it appears, it looks like it's actually writing onto the wall. And without Lloyd on top, you know, it would go over his hat. So that's what the extra layer of Lloyd at the top is for. And then in the end, you get some simple text getting written in, which, just because I should, the write-in effect is literally just in DaVinci in text. You can set a keyframe, set an out keyframe, and it writes on at the speed you want. It looks like I tweaked it a little bit so that it would go on at a certain speed, and that's it. Super simple. 3D text onto a background. All you're doing is really rotating it so that it looks like it's at the correct orientation. After that, we have Anya. So this one is actually probably the most complicated one. You have the square cutout, which this was not Magic Mask. All I did was I drew a polygon on it. That's it. And then to get rid of, if I take this off, you'll see that it says Donovan Desmond at the bottom. So all I did was put a paint node, which if I were to add that in, you just go through, you set it to every frame, grab the color you want, and you draw over it. Like you could, if you didn't want to draw it with paint, you could use, the alternative would be a patch replacer, which is exactly what you think it is. A little bit more of a pain to use. This is what I used to exclusively use, and then I realized I could just paint it out by hand. But you could absolutely just get away with doing a patch and then do another patch, and boom. So there you go. That would also give you the same effect, right? So you could patch it out and you can't tell the difference. And then I put a text on top. I tried to kind of match what it looked like, but I didn't try that hard. It was close enough. I oriented a little bit. It's a little crooked, but the text is nothing special. No fusion was used for it. It just dropped in a text node. I oriented a little bit using rotation again so that it was at the angle I wanted. So you have the text layer. You have the cutout square where Desmond was. So if you take that off, then you have her underneath, which it's just a resized image. And then I made a paper background, which I don't think I used at all. This was literally this was just a textured gray square. Didn't use that, not important. You have Anya, and then you have the cutout of the background layer. So where Anya should appear, which gives you this. And then at some point I accidentally added a head bob because I cut between the scenes. So I went ahead and just made her head bob twice, which looks a little awkward. I'm not gonna lie. It looks a little funky for some reason. Maybe because it's so sudden, I don't know. And here you'll notice the Magic Mask wiggle because I didn't want to bother trying to do this part by hand. So I just took this into Magic Mask and got lazy. And you can see that with this, it struggled. It did its job, but it certainly struggled, and you can certainly tell that it starts to wiggle before it vanishes. And then right here, I just gave up. I just had it cover it because at that point, I didn't think anyone cared. Another easy shot. This was just coffee. I used Magic Mask. There's the coffee underneath, and then there's the coffee on top. Coffee on top gets cut out, and then the coffee underneath is at 50% opacity, so that because otherwise if I don't have the 50% opacity layer underneath so that the coffee's there, it looks like this. Which, just having him in the cup certainly doesn't look terrible, but having some of the details of the coffee still there makes it look a lot better to me. Granted, I wasn't supposed to have this little flash. I don't know why it gets lighter and then darker all of a sudden. Oh, because it's doubled up. It's doubled up. That's why. This one, another easy shot. You've got him on the train, you got him on the train, and you got Lloyd Forger in the background. This layer is just fading out the background. So this is just an unedited footage of him. Otherwise, with him overlaid on top. I can have Lloyd stay there, and then the background fades out, and then the other background, which is at the very bottom, stays there. So it's a simple just character stays, background fades, new background below it. This shot, super simple. Again, I really liked the idea of the like children glitching, and then Anya being the perfect unglitched child. I don't know where the concept came from, but this was achieved through 5 minutes of work and just cutting out the children. You just put a magic mask on there, you run it, and it did the rest. I did not tweak this really at all. You can see the 2 frames I touched it was that one and that one. And this one was just to reassert, like, this is what I want. You're doing good, magic mask, keep it up. So sometimes it'll start to like get a little funky after a few frames. You're just like, no, you got it. Just do this. And you just touch it up, done. And it'll keep rendering it, and it just does its job. Now, there's a little bit of stuff like between his legs, and then when it gets blurry, but with the way I'm utilizing it, I don't really need to worry about that because the glitch effect is hiding any of the issues with the masking, because the whole idea is that just them glitch, so it looks fine. And this left shot is the exact same as this right shot. It's this, cut out the kids, I left the background untouched, and then this is literally just the transition block glitch effect. With the frequency turn, this is actually directly copy and pasted from earlier in the video when Lloyd is walking. I liked specifically the way that this background was getting messed up, so I went ahead and added that. Now here's the first black bar effect, which I don't want to do black bars through the whole thing. I'm kind of sick of it myself. I like the effect, but I don't think it needs to be in every shot. It does add a little bit, but it's not like that can't be my only thing, right? The edit has to actually be good by itself without just black bar effect. In this case, I liked the way the song kind of fades in. This is the build up. We're showing Anya for the first time, so I had her show up, and same thing as always, magic mask, I cut her out. There you go. I had to tweak this one quite a bit because it tried to eat her leg at one point. It took out her foot. There's still actually a slight issue right there, if you'll notice. However, since I hid her legs under the under the adjustment clip, I didn't need to worry about it. The thing that mattered was the top of her head the most, which it tried to eat her horn so many times, which is what all these little white lines are. But otherwise, it did pretty good. There's a little bit right at the tip of her head that kind of flares up, but again, you don't see it, so it worked out. And I just had an adjustment clip start at 0, go to 120, I eased it in and eased it out. And then I did the same thing underneath. I eased it in, eased it out. This layer is only doing the bottom so that the bottom bar goes over her, but the top and bottom bar go under her. I didn't need to add the extra bar here, and so you have it slowly sink in. And since I had already cut her out and it was just a completely easy thing to do, I went ahead and put behind the only bit of opening I used, which transitions from the camera pans to the left, and then the spin happens to the left. So you keep your momentum. She doesn't move, but the background keeps that momentum you were building as it spins and lets you refocus from the background back to her. And then this is just, I went from 50% opacity to 100. This is just her background. So you've got her on top, her not cut out, and then the scene underneath, which is just this. So I just go from 50% to 90, and then 50% to 90, and it just keeps fading it in, out, in, out. And since I added the black bar and her, and I had them fade in, I had to go ahead and add more black bars for this section. And this is pretty standard. I had him below it and above it because it looked weird for him to just be above both, because if you do it this way, it's like, oh, she's behind it, oh, and he just kind of pops in. It always looks like he like just kind of sinks into it. So I always kept him just below one bar, which still gives the 3D effect of him being very tall and her being, you know, small child. This shot, I love it. It was such a nightmare to do. Because if you'll notice, she starts fading in here, which means, yeah, this is cut out the whole time. So you've got Anya on top without the newspaper. So a lot of tweaking here. I don't even know what's going on with that. You see her and the newspaper is completely cut out. Then under that, I had the newspaper cut out. So you had Anya, you had the newspaper, and this is the same thing, just in reverse, essentially. This was a little bit easier to deal with. And then under that, I had her, which this is retimed so that she just stands there doing nothing, and then she'll open her mouth at the beat of the, hey, and then she stops, right? Super simple, just took a still shot, took a moving shot, took a still shot. Then under all of that, because the whole thing is I wanted this to appear over the black bar. I had to do all the extra masking so that both of these scenes and this one could appear in front of the black bar, but not out from the side. So if you notice, just slightly, ever so slightly, right there, it's actually sticking out. I didn't crop it at all. It's just there, but it worked out. So then you have the adjustment clip, which is cropping the scene underneath, which the scene underneath is just her by itself. And then from there, because you can already see her face down here, your eye gets drawn to it, and then you can go from a zoomed out shot to the close-up. And then here's pretty standard. There's no fancy edits. This is all just timing stuff. I wanted her speaking as it did, kind of really trying to sell that like they're making the noises in the song to an extent. This is a really short one. I cut out the, she's sad that he's leaving, so I had her crying. And then a little bit of spin effect back to her crying, just because the looked good with that. Just place this here. It's on beat, and pretty simple one. It's not even done that well. I don't even think I touched this up much. Yeah, a little bit of blur, lowered the threshold, and then it's just a basic masking shot. There's a little bit of awkwardness in her hair right there. Her horn gets taken. But either way, you just do that. And then I added a drop warp transition to this, so he would pop towards the screen, and right as he closes his eyes. And then out of this whole video, this is probably the shot I'm least happy with. I don't know what it is. It just feels very jarring out of nowhere. It certainly works, in my opinion, but it just kind of feels too abrupt. Watch it throughout the whole thing. I don't know, maybe adding a bit more, lower the opacity to this a bit might have. Yeah, lowering the opacity so it's not as abrupt with the background is probably what I should have done. All I did was manually move this background so that it kind of shakes off screen, which is an effect I use quite a bit. It's one of my favorite transitions. It's kind of like film strip effect. You kind of just have it like go down, and you have it reappear at the top, and then you have it go back down to the bottom, and then you essentially just kind of rinse, repeat that so it looks like it's shooting past the screen at high speed until you eventually just have like none of it and it's gone. This one doesn't even look like a shot that happened. So this is achieved through two different clips, because this isn't how the original scene goes. She yells at him and he just stands there, and then, he talks. But that's way less interesting than she starts to yell at him and he just like leans down. He's like, "What are you talking about, you child?" Another masking shot, magic mask, went over it. Didn't even like tweak the background. I was just like, oh, this looks so good already. I didn't even have to touch it up. It just went, because it pulls out by itself the moment the motion starts to happen in the background. It pulls to the new scene, so it looks great. Another masking shot with Anya, and then underneath that, I just have him get blurred out, because I thought it looked a little weird to just have him not do anything. So your eye kind of gets naturally drawn to her. This is a trick that I absolutely stole from Dragon Half. I thought of the Dragon Half video by Synthedia Productions. I still think I butchered that, and I just overlaid her. That's it. I cut her out, duplicated it, reran the magic mask each time to make sure it was gonna function, and then I added Can you believe it? Blocky glitch effect, just transition block glitch, and then I made her slightly bigger with each thing. So 1.3 and then 1.6, and then the transition does the rest. This is all just timing, nothing special here. This could have been done better. There's definitely a way to do this better, but I really liked the joke, so I didn't spend too much time on it. All I did was equalize this. I tried to make it sound far away. So I used 3 bands in the equalizer, and all I did was lower the left side, lower the right side, and then dip the middle like severely so it just sounded far away, which I'm happy with how this sounds. It's pretty standard. I just don't like how it transitions back into the song because it's very abrupt, but it gets the idea across. This feels really important to me sometimes. I did have to do just a slight tweaking because otherwise the scene looks like this, where he starts to move his lips again, which doesn't look good. So yeah, I took a scene where he wasn't talking, where he got back in his chair, and then I sped it to 0. That's it. And then same thing here, adjustment clip. I didn't even ease this one in. I did ease it in and out because this one's a bit more complicated. As the bars fade in and the beat hits, that wiggles up and down, and this is all done just manually. I think I did, let's see, each wiggle, it gets to 140 and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, goes back smaller, 1, 2, 3, gets bigger, 1, 2, 3, 4, gets smaller, and then I held for 2 frames, and then I just did that over and over, and I eased in and out all of the, I didn't actually, some of them are eased in and out. Just so that little bit, it doesn't do much, but it adds a little bit of wiggle to it as you get hyped up to the moment. And then every single one of these is gonna be the exact same shot. I cut out the guy, I tweaked it a bit as parts show up. This one probably was some of the most difficult masking I did, which isn't saying much, as he just kind of comes in, and same thing, I had him over. All I did was cut him out in that hat so that they're both in front of the bars, nothing fancy. Cut to the next shot, which I actually left this one just completely unmasked because it gave like a extra pop to the bars kind of vanishing and coming back in. And then I cut out Lloyd, which, God, I didn't see that. But yeah, cut him out. Then cut to this scene, and obviously I'm matching some timing with this, so I'm not just cutting the full scene, but basically I didn't do much to it. I got what timing felt right. But yeah, every single one of these is just standard masking shot. Masked this out, it blows up over the bars, and then I masked him out and had him behind it to him, and I cut him out, same thing. Then here we cut him out again and have Lloyd run up, cut him out, cut the chair out. And then at this point, the last 4 frames, the moment the impact happens, I have the bar just shoot off screen. I probably could have done something a bit cooler, but I couldn't think of anything. This whole section is just back to timing things, nothing fancy. Here's the other thing I'm unhappy with, this right here. It feels so abrupt, just it doesn't flow like the rest of it. Sure, it's right when he steps down that appears and then have his legs vanish, but like, I'm not a big fan of that cut. There's nothing going on here. For Lloyd, all I did was I cut him out, and then his background, it gets faded out a little bit faster than he does, and then at the end of his fade, I throw on a noise dissolve, which just pretty much fades him out from top to bottom. I got emotional every time I saw this scene. I don't know what it is. It's Lloyd catching feelings, and it just does something to me. As he places his hand on Anya and the song re-lifts. Another masking shot. Again, Magic Mask did the work for me. There's nothing here. Magic Mask on top, the original scene below that slowly fades out from 57 to 47, and the scene before this, kind of same thing. It fades from 100 down to like 50, and then when he pops in, and then we cut from that scene we cut from the front scene to the scene that's in the background that's already playing, so your eye kind of just naturally works out with it as you get the effect, and then again masking shot, and then 75% down to 20, as the top layer just stays on. It's not even that good of a mask. Yeah, there's an immediate issue and some more hair issues, but again, this happens so quick that I didn't feel the need to fix it. And this section's all right. I wanted to recreate essentially what Lloyd did in the alleyway, as if this edit was going to now go through the Your Forger arc. But I really didn't want to just re-edit the same song, because I've already done it. That this whole song is that long, 1 minute and 30 seconds, and the other half of this song where it fades out and fades back in is just the extended version. I didn't do that at all. I literally didn't even tweak it, cut it, move it, or anything. I just let it fade out and let it fade back in, because it worked for the story I was gonna tell already. And then we just cut out with a little bit of glitch effects. Nothing to really see here. They're timed all right. I'm not really that happy with this. There is a little Anya pop with her eyes right here, but it happens so quick you're never gonna notice. Other than that, this was a really simple edit. It's got a few like cool things in it, but there's nothing complicated I did here. This is all just really cutting to beat and then using masking shots to go to the scene behind it, which I think for the most part worked out really well with this one. I hope you learned something. I'll probably do this every once in a while, probably not for every single video I make, but either way, if you want me to break down a specific video or you just have a question, then comment below, and I hope you got something out of this. And to any aspiring editors out there, I'm just some guy that makes stuff, so if you like my stuff, that's awesome and you're awesome. And if you don't, you're still awesome. Just go out there and make stuff that makes you happy.